name is Maggie.
Can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
No.
Really?
No.
Oh, wait.
Now
we
we
can.
Now I can.
I was like,
We'll do it live.
well, hello, everybody. My name is Maggie Reed. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. I'm the host of Friday Night Highlights, and welcome to a political TikToker roundtable, where every week we get together with some amazing political TikTokers, and we discuss the topics of the week and have a lot of laughs. So without further ado, let's get to introducing everybody. First up, we have the American Moderate.
All right, please go to full screen so you can see my green screen, not going the whole way. All right, there we go.
Nice house. Nice house.
This is called not wanting to make my bed. So
But you made that screen?
I'm the American Moderate. Half of my followers hate me at the moment. I'm losing followers like crazy. No, I believe in a third party option. I've recently basically just tried to put this towards the social democratic platform, which I think is the future, and just political content.
Awesome. Well, welcome. Yep. And next we have our surprise guest that nobody knew that was coming, Patty the Panda.
Hey. You asked me to be here. Like, you asked me for 45 minutes today to be on the show. This is not a surprise for me.
I did not ask you for 45 minutes. You called me.
Listen, my name is Patty the Panda. I'm only here because this is where the bus stopped. And you can follow me on Tickety Talkety because I'm Patty the Panda there, YouTube and all that jazz. I do a bit of comedy. I do a bit of This is Ireland, how green it is. That's about me, yeah. And I'm in a weird mood most Friday nights, which is unfortunate for Maggie.
I still love you anyways. All right, next we have USMC Angry Veteran, Matt. I got to write this down.
Hello, USMC Angry Veteran, Matt. You can find me on TikTok and nowhere else because I'm a huge loser. I've been doing a lot of crop top stuff lately, and that seems to be getting people really good. So that's about it.
High quality content. Gotta love
Bring it back.
Very high bar content there.
Hey, you can't just always be politics, right? It can't just always be that.
Oh, I mixed the two now, so it's all good.
Oh, perfect. Best of both worlds. All right, next we've got food expert.
Hey, my name is Bert. I come from the channel Food Expert, and I travel the world trying interesting foods. I talk about like historical things that happened in the past, and I talk about I'm traveling, not just like U.S. politics, but I talk about the world politics and just mostly about culture, food, history, and exploring cities and ideas for your next vacation going to another country. So subscribe to my channel, YouTube channel. I'm mostly doing YouTube, but TikTok is also, I try to post on there at least every day, but now it's less and less. I don't know why. But yeah, subscribe to my channel.
Awesome. And next we've got that Danesh guy. We got him here.
Hey.
Hello, good to be here. I'm Danish. You could follow me on TikTok, that Danish guy. I'm a comedy account, but none of my videos are funny unless they're political, so I guess I'm a political account. And that's it. Follow me, I guess.
Awesome. I love your content. It's so great. And you comedy all the way. Next we got Sadia M.
Hi, Maggie. Hi, everybody. My name is Sadia, and I'm Sadia____M on TikTok. And I'm also deaf now. Thanks. What was I gonna say? I make videos reminding people who put the con in conservative and make them musical. So that's what I do.
Nice.
Awesome. Nobody points like Sadia. She's the best.
Nope.
And next we have Shannon.
I'm Shannon Smith 3239 on TikTok, Shannon Lee 25 on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, but who cares? I hate that place. It's a dumpster fire. I just do whatever is on my mind. I'm just talking a lot, yapping, usually in the car, spewing about whatever. Politics, parenting, healthcare stuff. Whatever. It's either good or it's not. Follow me if you want to. I don't care.
It's all good. It's all good.
It's all good.
Share that energy.
Well, thank you guys for being here. So the first thing I want to talk about today is we had just hit a huge milestone yesterday. It was the 1-year anniversary of the COVID-19 lockdown. Like, it's pretty crazy that it's been a year. I've got a short clip to show you, and it's just kind of a recap of what happened a year ago today. And I want to talk about all the things that have transpired in this last year and what's changed and, you know, what happened and how's it going. So here we go.
There are now more than 1,000 cases in 38 states and Washington, D.C.
The largest cluster in the country. It's happening in the New York City suburb of New Rochelle. The National Guard has been called in.
New states of emergency have been declared in Colorado, Massachusetts, and Michigan.
We will see more cases and things will get worse than they are right now. Bottom line, it's going to get worse.
We have therefore made the assessment that COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
We have already lost 24 of our citizens.
We're heading towards an epidemic in the United States, and the question is what the scope of that is going to be.
To keep new cases from entering our shores, we will be suspending all travel from Europe to the United States for the next 30 days.
No, I hate his face.
I know, everyone hates his face. He's the worst. But can you believe that was a year ago yesterday? What do you guys think? I mean, what were your thoughts when this first started? And, you know, the WHO declared this a global pandemic. And here we are today. We have over 530,000 people dead in this country. You know, I remember myself, it was terrifying. You know, we didn't know what was going to happen. Had very little information about coronavirus. And here we are today. And what's changed? Come on, let's talk.
Well, the WHO was so late to declare a pandemic. They literally waited until, like, it was literally every continent that had the COVID-19. So, I mean, they were very late. They should have declared a pandemic back in maybe January 30th. Or I know a pandemic needs to be like everywhere and widespread, but they were also saying on the 12th of February, the black guy from Ethiopia, who, by the way, why is he the head of the WHO? He's from Ethiopia, a country that has a lot of problems itself. He said, like, oh, the countries are not working very well on the pandemic prevention. And then he's like blaming it on like all the other countries, when he should have declared a pandemic back in like January 30th or February 1st or whatever. It was crazy.
Anybody else?
It's been a wild ride. Like I never thought that I would know. I mean, my brother, I tell everybody all the time, when the first case came to Texas, it went to his hospital. And I remember he was calling me. He was like, it's here. And I was just like, do you really think this is going to be a big deal? And I just lost a classmate from high school yesterday to it. And it's just like, it went from like, I can't believe that this is actually here. Is it actually going to be bad? To somebody who's a healthy 35-year-old that just lost his life that I would have never pictured. So I don't even have words for it. To think it's been a year, it feels like it's been a lifetime.
Absolutely. I completely agree. It
really,
felt
it
like
does.
the longest year ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, especially Americans, you guys forget that it's a global pandemic, not just because of the shit show in America. It's very, very easy just to focus on America, but this was rampant in the rest of the world even before it got to America. You guys in America had like a 6-week head start, knowing that it was coming your way, and you guys did nothing about it. I remember this time last year, we're 1 year to the day of going into level 5 lockdown in Ireland. So a year. We're in level 5 lockdown for a full fucking year. And it started coming to Ireland from Italy because people were out there skiing and they were bringing it home, but nobody thought that it was as serious as what it was. Like we hear about these viruses in China all the time and we thought, it's grand, it's over there, we don't need to worry about it. And then it just engulfed Italy completely. And once flights started coming back to the rest of Europe, it was here. So on the 13th of March, we went into a level 5 lockdown, and we took significant preventative measures, and that's, I guess, why it's frustrating for me looking at the USA, because we had 4 or 5 weeks to prepare, and then you guys had another 6 or 7 weeks after that to prepare, and nothing was done because it was, as Kayleigh McEnany said, Donald Trump is never going to let that virus come to America, and then for 6 months after that, it's just going to go away. So I'm still very frustrated, even now a year on, about the inaction that took place 12 months ago.
Well, I feel like the more than 530,000 deaths are a complete result of the inaction that our federal government had in the very beginning.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There was no leadership at all. And Patty, you make an awesome point about the heads up that we had. That's when I think, I barely remember yesterday, to be honest with you, but you're bringing up Italy and seeing everything from there, seeing the videos, seeing the images. I think that's when it really, really hit me like, oh, fuck. This is, and knowing it was gonna, it was coming this way. Just the terror and the unknown and all of it. So I think what's changed is because we know so much more than we did a year ago. You have different stuff to work with, right? So you have knowledge, what's okay to do, what's not okay to do. It doesn't mean everybody's doing it, but there is, comfort in knowing rather than the unknown, because you know what to do. You know what to do and what not to do, and you just know a lot more. It was so freaky scary in the beginning. They didn't know what they were dealing with.
Right.
They didn't know how to treat it. They didn't know what the hell they were doing, and now they do, which is awesome. So a lot of that has changed.
You remember, you were saying it before the show, you remember in the very beginning the kind of panic that set on with people, the rush on toilet paper, the people trying to kind of get everything they could to stock up, because
oh my god,
everyone, remember, we thought it was going to be 2 weeks.
Yeah,
it was like,
I was like, it'll be like a month, maybe like 3 months.
Yeah, and lo and behold,
never
here we are now.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. It's scarier to be threatened with something like that, though, and know you have Donald Trump in charge to guide you out of it. That's, I think, the part that worried me the most, where I was like, this is going to be bad, but he's going to make it worse, because we have to depend on him. And it's that was terrifying. And, like, of course, like, you were hoping, well, he's never going to say, like, inject bleach, and then he literally does, and you go, okay. Well, he can't make it any worse, and he repeatedly kept feeding doubt and just, like, emboldening people who won't follow mask mandates or quarantine or anything like that. And I live in a small town here in Pennsylvania, and people don't wear masks. People don't follow any of the rules. Like, I look like the oddball out here. But the average age out here is like 99, so they're all gonna die.
They were saying that in Dallas, in Austin, the mayor of Austin's fighting the whole governor's move. And his basic, I love the green screen, I'm sorry. I wanted to provide some comic relief this evening. But yeah, he's basically saying it's making it impossible for him. The store owners in Austin would say, hey, it's a state, it's the governor. Like, they would blame it on the state, like, to give him a backstop so that the customer that was, like, rabidly not wearing a mask, they could be like, listen, it's not me, it's them, But instead, now they don't have that backstop. So the mayor of Austin said, hey, and Sadia would know all about this, but and I won't speak too much more about it because there's a lot going on in Texas with this. But I found like it's a bad situation. And I own a small shop, and I was able to say, hey, and I live in Massachusetts, hey, Governor Baker said, hey, don't worry, it's not me. Governor Baker said you got to wear that mask. It's not, I don't want to get in trouble. And it was a backstop. One other thing that reminded me while Patty was talking, we shut off Asia for travel, but then left open Europe. And then they're like, okay, well, no, just the UK. I'm like, okay, so like the biggest airport, Heathrow, that comes to New York, where we got it and also New Jersey. It's like it made no sense. And one last comment on the whole thing. In the moment when I realized this was real is when they were talking about the military-style hospital situation in Italy, where they were like, we only have this many resources and we need to choose who to save.
Oh,
and that was the wake up for me, like, whoa, this is real and this is bad. It was already bad, but that was really the awakening for me.
Yeah.
What's disturbing though is, like you mentioned there, Shannon, about we have a lot more information now than what we had a year ago. And oddly enough, for a lot of Republicans in particular, they're still acting with the same ignorance today as they did 12 months ago. They're still pretending like masks don't work. They're still pretending it's just going to go away. They're still pretending it's not an issue. And, you're taking away their freedoms if you're trying to mandate for these things. But the other thing that really pisses me off is, just as Donald Trump was taking credit for the virus only being around for 2 weeks a year ago, he's now taking credit for the vaccine, etc. right now. And, there's been lots of talk on Fox and the right for the last couple of days about how Joe Biden needs to publicly say, thank you, Donald Trump, for Operation Warp Speed. And I compared it earlier to, yes, Operation Warp Speed gave us the foundation of a vaccine house. But what else was needed there was the walls, the windows, the insulation, the heat, the electric, the plumbing, the roof, the furniture, before the vaccine family could move in. And I find it very hard to tip my hat at Donald Trump, who made sure through his negligence that 530,000 people couldn't move into that vaccine house, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and let's not forget that Operation Warp Speed, it just came out a couple of weeks ago, that was funded by pulling tens of billions of dollars away from hospitals instead of asking Congress for money for it. So, yeah, Operation Warp Speed, great, but you pulled $10 billion away that was supposed to go to hospitals across the country that severely impacted their ability to treat the virus in the first place.
Really good point.
Well, and you remember go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it's super bizarre, but it just goes without saying when it comes to Trump. Like, all right, so presidents do things, right? Sometimes they do things that are a little helpful. They, do some stuff. So then who gets out of their term and then sits there and says, the next guy's got to thank me and make a fucking public statement and blah, blah. Like, what? It's so bizarre. He's like starving for attention. It's so bizarre. Why does Biden have to talk about him and the vaccine? Like, why is this even a thing? He's so bizarre. He's just crazy.
I mean, it's through and through.
It's just the oddest thing. Nobody in the world behaves like this man. He's just, anyway, that's my little rant.
I just think that United States had the longest time out of every single country out there. It was like we were that guy on Austin Powers, on the first Austin Powers episode, that was like, no, and it's like literally the bulldozer's going 1 mile an hour. We could have done so much. It's just like it came in and.
Well, it's hard to get a majority of people in this country to do anything when they throw their hat in with a guy that constantly refused to do anything. So I mean, you had Anthony Fauci get up there in a press conference and say masks work, everybody should wear them, and then immediately followed up by Donald Trump saying, but that's just a recommendation, I'm not going to do it. So the fact that America is still in the situation that we're in is not surprising to me at all.
I have a question for you guys. So I was contemplating this last night, and I was thinking about, reflecting on this last year. Do you think we're going to be able to trust one another again? Do you think after all the misinformation, right?
No.
Answer. But I mean, after all the misinformation, the way people have treated this virus, we had the opportunity, I think, to come together to have a shared narrative as a country to get over this, right? We could have all banded together and worn masks in solidarity and done the damn thing, right? But now everybody has a different narrative about this virus. People are like, it was a conspiracy, masks don't work, I'm going to do whatever I want. And then there's the people that were, social distancing and doing their own thing. Do you think we'll ever be able to trust each other? I know, answer.
No, because I mean, even right now.
Go ahead, Sadia.
No, I was just going to say, like, even right now, I've got a friend who's arguing with me the other day about, like, well, do you know that PRC testing and this and that? And then he started talking about death certificates and like, you know, telling me how death certificates are written. And I said, cool. So how are they written? He couldn't answer that question. He just thinks that they put down one line, cause of death, and that's it. There's actually multiple lines on a death certificate. Like, there's this, which might have led to this, which might have led to this. There's multiple ways. The fact that they're creating information that that's not true, I can already tell you right now, I already know who are the asshats that I need to stay away from for the rest of my life. And I have no problem doing that. Yeah, if you're going to make up information, or your 4-minute Google search is not the equivalent of somebody who spent 12 years in medical school, and there's no way you're going to convince me otherwise. So,
And the problem is that
I think
a lot of it is from the family unit itself. I haven't talked to my dad in probably 8 months. So I got into a nice big argument about him, or about masks with him, and he said that they don't work. And I said, "Who said that?" He's like, "The CDC said it." No, they didn't. He's like, "Well, I don't have evidence. That's what my gut's telling me." Like, I can't talk to you. I can't talk to you then. So,
well, I think COVID has, you know, torn families apart. I mean, there is more than more than just the families that have, you know, had to separate for, you know, medical reasons to keep people safe, but for those reasons, exactly like you're saying, Matt, you know, political reasons. These masks have been politicized this entire time, right?
So, so I think attitude reflects leadership. So, and what I mean by that is the politicians in the USA were able to create an us versus them scenario, but it wasn't for political reasons. It was for financial gain. Like, so we know that for the entire year, Donald Trump and other Republican leaders were stoking the fire in order to I suppose, take as much money off their base as they possibly could. And that continued after the election. I think Donald Trump secured like $265 million after the election, based on this whole narrative of they're taking your freedoms, the masks are fake, the COVID virus is open up, you know, all of this nonsense. So I genuinely think for financial gain, US politicians created the us versus them scenario, and it makes it easier when you're being corralled together as it's Republicans versus Democrats or Libertarian versus liberals, etc. So that certainly didn't help. And then the mixed messaging from Donald Trump and the COVID response team, and the 15 days to flatten the curve that turned into 12 months, you know, none of that really worked. And it just really highlighted incompetence, terrible leadership, and all about money.
You know what's incredible to me about the whole thing is that Donald Trump, this was his way to get reelected, and he spoiled it. He ruined it. He could have, all he had to do was go out there and say, hey, you patriots, wear a mask and be the bigger man, and he would have won the election. We saw how close it was with him being a train wreck. All right, so the fact that he lost, he spoiled, and then even still to the bitter end, he still probably could have won the election if he figured out Georgia and like a couple other things. And he still just did the exact opposite of what he should have done, which is just say, hey, here's the facts. Let's deal with them. Wear a mask, be patriotic, wear a mask. If he just said that one line, it's patriotic to wear a mask, we probably have 100,000 less deaths at this point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've said this from the beginning. He had the opportunity, like he was given COVID, and he had the opportunity to rise to the occasion, and he completely fell flat. He did nothing.
Yeah, I mean, Stormy Daniels will tell you that. But I think the issue.
I was laughing so hard at that.
Hang on. I think the issue with Donald Trump is, and what's even more worrisome is that Donald Trump would be your president now if it wasn't for COVID. So that probably tell you, yes, there's a health crisis, a healthcare crisis in the US, and a healthcare in the US, but the health of your country is in a terrible position because it took a virus to kill 500,000 people before a few extra people who normally don't vote decided to vote for Joe Biden.
Well, let's not beat around the bush here. We're screwed if we stay on this path. This country is completely hosed. If we don't make some kind of a drastic change in the way that we talk about politics in this country, address issues in this country, and stop with this all this infighting bullshit in this country, we're done. We are circling the drain.
Yeah.
So,
You know, we've
I
been
think you have
talking
a-
a lot about this
Sorry.
on the show, actually. We've been talking a lot about messaging and how important getting across our message as Democrats are in, you know, a very kind of easy, simple, and calm way. And that's something that I think we're all going to be tasked with. I know, you know, Abe won't be silent. He's really starting like a movement and he wants everyone to be involved.
Mhm.
So we can focus on that because there we do have a lot of influence being TikTokers.
I fail at that. I'm too angry.
I'm with you, bud. I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm too upset. I can't do calm.
I try.
Not my
I
thing.
try. I'm too.
But again, I always come back to this point when it comes to what you're talking about here about proper change. Like, and I always say, you guys have to write off this entire generation. It's gone. This generation, you're done. You've got to take half of what you spend on the military right now and put it into education right now, this minute,
Yeah.
in order to try and save your country in 30 years' time. Like, that has to happen now, and you have to write off anybody who's over the age of 18 up. Fucked. These are all gone. It doesn't matter. It's nothing's going to change from that cohort at all. It's the next generation. You've got to pump money into, properly fund education, give teachers adequate education, get rid of this No Child Left Behind nonsense, and properly fund and take away the restrictions of families to go to schools based on the cost of their home.
Yeah. That's the ideal world that you live in.
I actually just learned something
Yeah,
really
it's
interesting.
called Ireland. Yeah,
I know.
It happens
That's-
here.
I hate to be a pessimist. It's just that, like, the Republican Party has literally declared war against education. Like, it's not like that's not going to happen, and I would love for that to happen. It's just not with people who still deny global warming, still think that masks don't work, like still think Trump won the election. Like they're living an alternate reality, and there's no way to really communicate to them because any sort of evidence, anything you bring to them, it doesn't resonate. It never will. And like the only thing we can play to ourselves, and if we like people on our side remain motivated, vote like they did, recently, get involved. We can absolutely have change by moving this skewed America that is so far to the right, that we end up settling on still a right-wing policy.
I think you're right in terms of what you're saying. Like, it's never, real change is not going to happen right now. But I think sometimes people forget that yes, 74 million people voted for Donald Trump, but 160 million people did not. So if you guys can tap into that 80 million people who are so apathetic, they don't care even now, work on your messaging, and even if 15 million of those started to vote, you guys could change the political landscape completely in your country.
That's a really good point. We've got only 60%. I think it's 60-something% is like pretty good for a percentage of voting. Like, that's insane for any first world any country to only have 60% of the people vote, and that to be like okay is insane. So yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, the fact that we have so few people voting, 6 out of 10 people voting that can vote, that was a surprise to me. I just found that out recently, and I was sort of shocked. So I agree with you 100%. We need to get people that are here motivated to vote and to see why it's important, and to see that our democracy is not functioning at this point. It's literally a pendulum swinging back and forth, and we're the losers in the end, the people that live here, and the politicians just sort of self-fulfilling prophecy, just make enough money to get elected the next time around and do nothing. I mean, nothing.
Women alone could determine elections. If all the registered female voters in the country voted, we would determine elections, and also the youth vote. So that's, again, Patty, a really, really good point, is getting people, the vote is the big thing, and being involved with organizations that are really good at mobilizing people. Supermajority.org, MoveOn.org, those kinds of things, volunteering your money, your time, making phone calls. It's not fun. I've done it, but it's something. I hate feeling helpless and hopeless. That's the worst feeling. So mobilizing voters is huge, huge.
You know what I'll say about
Incentivizing them by showing them that the government is working for them, like what they're doing right now. I think like Biden wasn't my first, second, third. I mean, we can go down the list. He wasn't my choice for president, but I can say as somebody who, like I said, was not motivated by him that much, I'm quite pleased with everything that he's doing and how quickly, in terms of government standards, he is able to accomplish things. You're looking at the vaccinations alone. We're at over 2 million, doses given every day now. Versus his initial goal for 1.3 million. I mean, if you continue to deliver and deliver and deliver, I think our messaging will not just fall on deaf ears, it will also have action to back it up. So yes, completely onus is on us. And I think the government and the Democrats right now need to make sure that they stay on their A game.
Absolutely. Now, I want to show you guys a clip real quick. I want to just show you, here's a little recap of what was going on Fox this week. So, while we're sitting here talking about messaging, let's just see what their message was.
President Donald Trump's President Trump, Donald Trump, President Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump,
President Trump, to the Trump administration.
Donald Trump administration, Donald Trump, Donald Trump administration, President Trump, Dr. Seuss, Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head, Pepe Le Pew, Dumbo, Peter Pan.
I'm gonna throw a trap beat on that.
That's what Patty said. That's exactly what Patty said. He said, all right, go grab your instruments right now. We want to hear
Maggie, I sent that to you earlier, and the thing is, that wasn't even all week. That was just on Hannity's show last night.
Yes.
Just one
yesterday?
show. That's yeah. Just one show.
Oh, I believe it. Yes.
I think he probably said Trump yesterday more than Jesus. That's crazy.
Well, right now, Donald Trump is seeking to get. Yeah. Well, Donald Trump is seeking to get, all of the adoration for everything COVID. So anything positive that's happening, he wants that, right? And they are all backing him up. I mean, here's the thought: misinformation, and we know. I mean, I feel like Fox this week has just really gone off the deep end because they're trying to get back viewers that they lost. So they're pretty much pandering. I mean, Tucker Carlson was pandering to the QAnon base. They're just like brown nosing up against Donald Trump. I mean, how do we get people to stop watching Fox?
We don't.
You don't.
You don't.
Impossible.
But how clever are Fox though? Because all week it should have been about the COVID relief bill all week, and Democrats are really weak at pushing that narrative. But yeah, if in a month's time, if you were to ask people about this week, everybody is going to be talking about Dr. Seuss. Everyone, because that's the message all week. They're going to remember Dr. Seuss. They're not going to remember the COVID relief package. It's too boring, and they're so good at messaging and honing in on this tiny narrative that everybody can get angry about. And it's never about Republicans versus Democrats. It's about the right hating Democrats. And that's what it's always about, hating them. I don't care what it's about, what the issue is. Do I get to hate Democrats? Well, then I'm in. It doesn't matter. So, and that needs to change. And I don't know how, unless you bring in some of the regulations that we have in Europe, whereby Fox News is banned because it's not a news channel. But that's never going to happen because we all know Americans hate regulations.
But that's a good point, because if you did regulate the news to say that you can't actively provide disinformation that's going to put people's lives at risk. That's what they've been doing all year.
Well, you can't do that.
But they have, that's the thing.
On cable, on cable they can. I think the regular channels they can't. The cable networks are not covered by the FCC, but the FCC. So that sucks. So they should have something like that for the cable networks.
I agree. Yep.
Sorry.
No, I agree. I think that's, as Patty said, I mean, they do have regulations, and I think there's some major networks in Europe that actually rejected Fox recently on a bid that they had gone in to try to offer their services, I think even as entertainment, or maybe it was just as news. And then basically
they have to be entertainment in some places. That's like...
Yeah, they wanted to register as a news network, and they were denied. They could only register as an entertainment offering, and they decided not to do so because it would be... against their narrative, I guess.
Right. Yep. Yeah, and that was
They
this
want to
year. I
seem
think.
legitimate. They want to seem like they're legitimate news, so they said it's not good enough. Fox.
And yet they go to court and argue that no reasonable, rational person could take what we say on Fox News literally. Therefore, you cannot sue us for misinformation, i.e. Tucker Carlson a few months ago. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's bizarre. Like, the news in Ireland is very simple. The news in Ireland is normally a guy and a woman, and they read the news for 15 minutes. They have an ad break. They read 10 more minutes of news, and then they go to the weather. There's no advertisements. There's no flashiness across the screen. It's very like Walter Cronkite days. This is the news. We're going to bore you for 25 minutes. Have a good evening. And that's the news here. Compared to the USA, it's bonkers.
It's like PBS NewsHour here, which is what we call it, the real news. And it's like now news is big money in America. It really is. It's huge. Exactly. It's huge money, and they know that. So it's all about getting people inflamed, getting people angry, getting people upset about something, and just getting more views. I actually stopped watching CNN and started watching MSNBC, and it's not like it's that much better. But it's a little bit better. It's a little bit less like, hey, everything's breaking news all the time. Now it's like, here's the news. All right, it's breaking news. Watch. But they're still all making so much money on making sure that people are upset. And I think it's just stoking a lot of division in the country. So
This entire week, guys, I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I saw TikToks just debunking misinformation about a children's book. I mean, we're talking, they were making shit up about Dr. Seuss. And it was like, I mean, obviously distraction, that works. It's a great distraction tactic for them. It keeps us from talking about other things. But it's like, I mean, it's exhausting. It's exhausting the amount of misinformation that is out there and having to always combat it all the time, I think.
It is. And it's not that big of it's not this huge thing to unravel. It's not this huge thing to unravel. It's really very simple. So they say the Democrats banned Dr. Seuss. And then we say, actually, no, that's not what happened. There were 6 books that the Seuss estate decided weren't really up to date. So it was more of a financial, like what's good for everybody right now. That's it. That's the truth. Period. The end. Why does the conversation have to go on for 2 weeks about this? It's not a big mysterious thing to unravel. It's very simple. So it should just be like, here's the truth. Fucking Google it. It's not hard. It's not, the truth is not hard to find.
But
and then it should be done. Buried. Over.
No, you're right. But at the end of the day, like, their guy said inject bleach, so they want, like, their pride back. So they want something to say. That's it. That's literally all it is. Like, I don't think they always believe the things they're saying. I think it's just a chance to hate a Democrat.
Yep. Yeah, you might be right. And that is bizarre. That is just crazy. And then the answer to that, to what the truth is, well, they wouldn't have done that if it wasn't for the Democrat. Okay. Right. Well, let me put the story to bed. It's boring.
All week, the Republicans were sitting there reading Dr. Seuss. Like, well, I was like, straight up, they were
advanced reading for the week.
Right?
That's because they've got nothing else to go off of.
Well, I saw like the best tweet where it was like, while the Democrats were, passing the COVID relief bill in the Senate and doing all this stuff, the Republicans were reading Dr. Seuss.
For the first time, probably.
For the first time.
Oh, I mean, they
never heard of.
Oh, man, guys.
But I went back and I found Ted Cruz. He was reading it a couple years ago too. Apparently, it's like their go-to shit. So I mean, who knows?
Oh my
God. You know what's funny about that? Oh, go ahead.
Ted Cruz is a cunt, so we don't really have to talk about him.
Yes, he is a cunt.
But for the base, it's like, Patty, you're a murderer. I'm not a murderer. That's exactly what a murderer would say. And that's the narrative. That's it. That's the narrative.
Yep.
That explains Fox and the right completely.
Yep.
That's exactly how it is.
And that's what Sean Hannity said. Sean Hannity said the same thing to Candace Owens a couple of days ago. He said that there's going to be all these regulations and fact checkers, fact checking advertisement. Well, who's going to fact check the fact checkers? And it's like, this isn't a circle game here, moron. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And you know what the biggest thing with these guys on the far right? And I was listening to something on it was one of the local public radio stations, and they were talking about how if you can really break down somebody who believes in QAnon. The risk isn't in them actually believing that it's totally bogus, because they think actually a lot of them don't actually really truly believe it, but they publicly believe it because they've committed. So the real risk in having people, the breakdown is going to be like a psychological breakdown where they have to admit defeat, that they were just very wrong. And that's what people are worried about. It's like, what are these people going to do? And it's a pride thing. It's come down to it that it's really just about pride at this point. They know QAnon is bogus. They know Trump lost the election, and it's purely pride, and it's owning the libs. It's just about like Nash was saying. It's own the libs, and then whatever else doesn't matter. Burn down the country. But as long as the Democrats burn down first, we're good.
They've said that about Trump supporters too.
About a month ago, there's a concept in poker, oddly enough, where you've put so much money into the pot that even though you've got a complete shit hand, you're
committed.
So committed to the pot that you're going to see it through to the end, knowing that you're going to lose. And it's the same concept that's going on with all these people right now.
That is the
best
analogy.
Nice.
So true.
I like it.
One of the most ridiculous things, and one of the most ridiculous things is that there is no left. There is no socialism. There's no left in the USA. You're either center right, or extreme right. You know what I mean? Like America as a country needs to be educated as to what the left actually is. Most of Europe are social democracies, so they're not even socialists. They're capitalist economies that are underpinned with social programs to make sure that nobody is left behind and everybody has a decent level of living. I genuinely think that Democrats need to embrace that and embrace that we are primarily center right. We're center right depending on the economy. And yes, there's a few who are center left, but certainly Joe Biden is center right. And you need to embrace that, and I think you will be able to pull some of those Republicans over to vote for a Democratic agenda if they just admit we're not left at all, we're actually centrists.
Well, I think the problem is that the right has done such a hella good job about painting the word Democrat as extreme leftist, that the amount of effort that's going to be needed to be put in to change one mind in that is so astronomically high, that it's like, what is actually going to happen? I could sit here for hours and talk about how, I may have American progressive ideas, but they're sure as shit not leftist ideas. They're sure as shit not radical leftist ideas. But it doesn't matter, because that narrative has been painted and ingrained into their philosophy of the United States for so long that at this point it's a part of who they are. And letting that go, I feel like to a lot of them, it's saying, hey, that's not the way it is. Admitting that's not the truth would equate to admitting that God doesn't exist to them.
Right.
For sure.
Their brain is rewired. Like it, absolutely.
Well, and they
and what's crazy about it is that this base would rather fight to make sure that Donald Trump continues to pay $750 a year than tax him fairly and use that money to give themselves decent healthcare, decent education, proper housing, and they would rather fight for Donald Trump from their wooden shacks than get a decent standard of living for themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, they're always voting against their own interests, and you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make it drink. I mean, there you go.
I think what they're voting for, though, that it's become really obvious, at least in recent years, they're voting for not for anyone to do better or worse, but for white people to be doing better. That's it. They just want the white people to be doing better than the other people that aren't white. That's what the Republican Party has become. Like, they'll vote against their best interests as long as they're still up higher in the totem pole. And it's become so obvious that it's just about, to them, winning against what they don't like. And it doesn't matter if they're actually doing really shitty. And they are. And, I just look at it like it's such a petty argument. And the reason why they're so successful, though, is because they are ruthlessly for their own cause, and they will not look at facts no matter what because they're so united. Whereas like I went after Cuomo this week and lost like I don't even know, like probably like 1,000 followers for going after Cuomo and saying he should resign. I genuinely believe there's enough evidence between the three accusations and thank you, and with also all the nursing home where they actually omitted like 50% of the deaths. There's real. If that was a Republican, the people would be going for his head. If he resigns, we'll actually have the first woman governor of New York, and that's my home state, and I would love that. And I like that. So
I'm on board with this.
What's that?
He should resign.
I'm 100% on board with this. I'm in New York. I'm a constituent there.
But you know what? Honestly, you know why the Democrats are weak, though? In a way, they actually have principles. So we'll actually say, no, we don't agree. Like he needs to resign. Republicans will never do that. So
I've always said that. Yep, exactly.
It's because they're.
Did you guys see right before we gathered for this? I think it was Schumer. Was it Schumer and Nadler? They wrote like an official, like you need to.
Schumer.
Was it just Schumer? I thought it was a couple of them.
It was somebody else. I just got the New York headline here too.
Okay, so the TV was still on when I was like getting my shit together, and they're like, "This just in," but yeah,
Schumer and Kirsten.
Okay, yeah, I mean,
Julie Brand.
You know, and then I'm not happy that there are Democrats that are saying, you know, you don't want to lose a blue seat, but like right is right and wrong is wrong, and we're not. The lieutenant governor is a Democrat, and people aren't realizing that, and there's this whole narrative that, you know, it's a whole setup and, you know, they're just trying to get him out of there because of all the New York investigations going on. I'm not buying any of that. And if the guy's a freaking creep and he's a piece of shit, he needs to go.
And you know what?
He made women feel uncomfortable in the workplace. And
he didn't know, though. He didn't know, Maggie. He was not aware of it. Hey, luscious. You fuck old guy. What are you into?
37 years old. I did 9.5 years in the Marine Corps. I worked around a lot of women while I was in the Marine Corps. I've never once had a woman come out and say, he made me feel uncomfortable, because I treated them like a person and not an object. You know what I mean? I treated them like a co-worker, like somebody that was working towards the same thing I was working towards, and not somebody for me to just oogle and like drool over and salivate for, you know, this whole thing.
No, I agree with you, man.
Like going back, like Cuomo wasn't really like until the pandemic. I think the pandemic when he kind of took the footholding against Donald Trump. At that point, like he was kind of enabled as a hero, but I remember him being quite a bit of a jerk. So
Cuomo has always been up here in New York. He's very disliked in New York. He's not been the best governor for this state at all, period.
There are people that are, you know, really sticking by him because they remember him from, you know, the beginning of the pandemic. He was like a voice of, you know, reason and calm for people. And so there are people that are really wanting to stick by him right now. I personally think he should resign. I mean, remember Al Franken in the photo? I mean, we hold people accountable, and I think we always have to keep people up to those kind of standards. And you know, go after Republicans, Democrats alike. That's my thought.
Maggie, the reality is this: is that the integrity of the office should be maintained. So it doesn't matter if it's Republican or Democrat in the office. You have to uphold the integrity of that office. So if he was working in the private sector and there was 3 or 4 of his work colleagues said, "Hey, this guy is sexually harassing me," he would be let go. So we expect more from our public servants, from our public officials. So absolutely, he should resign and leave the office with the integrity that the office deserves. And yes, there may be an inquiry, and yes, he may be cleared somewhere down the line. Doesn't matter, but there's multiple people, and he admitted himself, yes, I said some things that were a little bit out of order or out of character, and I apologize profusely. That for me is more than enough to say, Slán Abhaile, good luck. Get the next person.
Well, you know, you've got the Attorney General of New York investigating him, and the state legislature has also opened up impeachment investigations into Andrew Cuomo because he has come out and said those things, and he hasn't stepped down. So, and that's Democratic-run state legislature is pushing for investigations into him on the state side, and also Letitia James is going on with the Attorney General side, with the DOJ side of everything, also. So I mean, like he's getting hit from both sides, and at this point, it's just going to end up worse.
He has his nails dug in.
He's got to swallow his pride. He's got to swallow his pride. And here's the thing: Kathy Hochul is going to run against him in November 2022 and probably win if he. Well, she needs a chance to take over the state, do well, and then smash in 2022 in November to win the governorship as the incumbent that inherited the office. And instead, what's happening is Cuomo is creating all this distraction. And my parents are in Albany. They live in Albany. So they're like, get him out of here. And I grew up with Mario, his father, who was actually, I thought, a pretty good governor. But in the end, everyone's like, they need to do the budget in New York. The budget is incredibly important. And it's been a mess. And now they finally get the stimulus money to save the state's budget for the most part and save all these municipal police offices and fire departments. And Cuomo's, how he acts is distracting everybody from that goal. So get out of the way, Cuomo, swallow your pride, let Kathy Hochul take over, do well, and win the election in 2022, because it's not going to be Andrew Cuomo. And if anything, he'll sabotage the Democratic governorship of New York.
Right.
Can you imagine? Wow.
I also feel like right now we just need to stop with any kind of scandal. Right now we need to focus on, we have a lot of fucking problems going on here, and we need to stop with these scandals and just move on. Deal with it, get it out. I mean, this whole back and forth of Cuomo, should he stay, should he go? Let's just take him out.
Yeah.
And just to note on that,
focus on things that matter. I mean, that does matter, obviously. But
don't promote conspiracies, because when the conspiracy, like what was coming up and what Shannon was talking about too, that there's, it's a conspiracy to get rid of them so that then they'll stop the investigation, like 6 degrees of separation for this SDNY investigation of Trump. And this is like a left conspiracy. And I'm like, guys, you're doing exactly what the Republicans do. Stop.
Exactly.
So Paul actually used the words cancel culture. He blamed cancel culture. At that point, I was like, fire him. If he's going to use cancel culture, that's the worst you could say. And I think a lot of people who end up taking a side or try to defend him, the biggest thing they end up saying is, well, what about Donald Trump? He doesn't get held accountable, and then they're doing the same whataboutism thing that they were doing.
Right.
And that, I think, speaks to the bigger problem of not holding people accountable. Because then they're going to say, well, you didn't hold that guy accountable. And then who loses? Women mostly. Because now every guy's going to say, well, that guy didn't get in trouble. Why should I?
Can I just give a couple of it? So in Ireland, things are very, very different. So I appreciate in the US, it's very hard to be principled when you have the likes of Roy Moore still running for the Senate. You have Ted Cruz, who should have resigned after his Cancun nonsense. But in Ireland, 2 of our top officials, one went and played golf, and he wasn't aware that it was against COVID lockdown rules, and he was told to resign immediately, and he resigned immediately because he played a round of golf, and because Irish citizens couldn't play golf, he had to resign. Our minister, the equivalent to our attorney general, missed an email and had to resign because she missed that email. Like that's the standard that we hold our public servants to. So every single instance where I hear of American politicians, there's this scandal, there's that scandal, and the whataboutism, and every single one of them should resign. It's not like, and that's the way it is in the rest of Europe and the rest of the Western world. It's like, if there's any threat to the integrity of the office, you're gone, because the people hold you accountable.
Are the majority of your public servants actually interested in being public servants? Because I feel like here, they don't give a shit about being public servants. They give a shit about power, holding on to power. They don't care. They don't give a shit. So that changes everything. I mean, there's a handful, I guess, but I would say for the most part, no, they don't care about serving the public. They care about greed. They care about their own welfare. They care about holding on to power, period, the end. If Cuomo gave a shit about the people of New York and having some not having the focus on this stuff, like Maggie was saying, he would do the right thing, but he's like got his nails dug in. He's holding on for dear life to that power. And the thing about holding people accountable, like we have to maintain integrity as a party or whatever you want to call it. And if we're not doing that, we have no integrity. We cannot. And Danish said the same thing. We can't do the same shit. We can't do the whataboutisms, and we can't get caught up in that. It's easy to, but you got to kind of check yourself, put on the brakes.
I think it would be wonderful if we as, Democrats or independents, whatever, could just suffocate some of these things and not give it the attention that it deserves or doesn't deserve. That's what I mean. We spend so much time, I think, there are people on TikTok trying to get clickbait, whatever. But it's like some things, it's just like we need to just put it off so we stop giving it life, because it's just too much. It's way too much.
Well, and I think that part of that goes back to if we don't want to give it life, then those that are responsible for what we're talking about needs to hold themselves accountable for it. It all comes back to accountability. If you don't want the rest of America talking about it all the time, then the people that are committing the problems need to hold themselves accountable and say, all right, I'm just going to step away. I did the wrong thing. I'm going to step away. But in America, they're not going to do that. They're just not going to do that. There is not one politician in government today, whether it's from the city council, school board level to the president of the United States, that is going to hold themselves accountable. They will always have an excuse, and they will continue to make excuses until it gets to a point where they can't make excuses anymore. And then they say, oh, well, I made a mistake.
I think it's about legacy. I think it's about their legacy, and especially as they get older. But Cuomo, with his father, and he's the Italian family legacy is a big deal to him, and his brother Chris, who's on CNN, but the Mario Cuomo lineage, it's a big thing. I think he won't resign just out of pride, but I think that's just not Andrew Cuomo. I think that's just how all of these guys are. And I just recently posted about a bunch of the founding fathers and how I thought that they were about freedom of business and themselves and their legacies and their fame versus actually creating freedom of religion and freedom for the people. And I lost another 1,000 followers with that one. So, So, and it's not about followers; it's about saying what you believe in, But I really believe that the politicians, especially as they get older, they're rich already. They've already done all these things in their life. They want legacy. They want fame. They want impact. Our politicians have become these famous figures, and so they'll do everything they can because they don't need money. They don't need a job. So they're just about, what is the book going to say about me when I'm done? And Andrew Cuomo will not resign unless he's forced out, because the book will say he resigned because he was saying rude things to women and doing all these bad things. And he will never resign, and he should. But none of it. And you're right. So yeah, I'll stop.
We're talking about accountability here, but I mean, here's the thought. I mean, who is getting held accountable for anything these days? I mean, at least we've got the people that were part of the insurrection, some justice is coming their way, I think. I mean, not as many, are going to be charged as they should be. But I mean, accountability across the board. I mean, Donald Trump, the insurrection was just one of the many things he did. We're still waiting to get accountability for his actions. He's
never held accountable.
No, he's not held accountable. And I mean, we are not holding our, politicians accountable. I mean, that's the thing.
Maggie, there is hope. There is hope, and I say that for this reason. So ultimately, you're held accountable most by the voters. That's how it's supposed to work. And in Ireland, that's how we do it. It's the voters have all of the power, and we have 9 parties in Ireland, and they all keep each other honest. But the reason why there's hope is because of Georgia. There was accountability in Georgia because they went from 2 senators. 2 red senators to 2 blue senators, and in Georgia there was through Stacey Abrams and her movement and women of color in particular, they held the Republicans accountable for not representing them the way they should have been represented, and that's why 2 Democrat senators were elected, and that's how it's supposed to work. So there is hope, but you shouldn't need a Stacey Abrams in every county in every state in America.
Right, but that's what it's going to take, though. That,
I
if
don't
you're
know.
going to
That's
see
all
that
you'll
kind
see.
of change, it's going to take that type of involvement from hundreds of thousands of people across the nation going door to door for 10 years and readjusting how everything is done. Georgia's already starting to backtrack on all of that. They just passed a bunch of new voter restriction laws down there to kind of pull everything back because Republicans were like, oh shit, we're going to lose everything.
And they're so blatant about it. They're not even pretending that it's for any other reason. They're just like, we don't want to lose. We don't want more people to vote. We don't want black people to vote. I mean, they're just saying it. And they're like, all right, well, let's just push that through. That has me, I am so fucked up over that. I can't even tell you. Because it's another thing of like, helpless.
Well,
What do we
the
do?
next thing,
What do we
next
do?
thing to come to the Senate is the HR 1, the John Lewis Voting Act, right? The Voting Act Rights Bill. And we know exactly what's going to happen there, right? And right now across the country, state by state, they are doing everything they can to suppress votes. I mean, and what is one to do at this point? Because
well, if we don't get rid of the filibuster in the Senate, it's not going to pass.
And that's probably not going to happen.
That's a dangerous game too. I mean,
And then you better never lose if you pass it. If you get rid of the filibuster, the Republicans can never have majority of either house again.
Well, I mean,
that's like if you pull that chain, you cannot put that toothpaste back in that bottle. Like they can never win again.
You do it at the same time you get rid of the electoral college. You have to time it at the same time.
Yep.
That would work. I'm all for that, but I mean, will that happen?
Here's the thing, though. A lot of people forget that the House used to have a filibuster in the House. Like 50 or 60 years ago, and they got rid of it. And it hasn't completely destroyed the House of Representatives either. You know what I mean? So there is a precedent there that if you get rid of it, it doesn't destroy democracy. As a matter of fact, I would argue the House is more democratic than the Senate.
Right. Oh, yeah, definitely. And I agree with you 100% there. I think, honestly, that actually forces people to have to play fair because they know one vote can change the whole thing. So they're going to have to negotiate. Right. And even if somebody has a majority, it becomes more democratic because it's not 60-40. It's now a narrow margin. So you have to negotiate. And the moderates then become the most powerful. They were talking about the stimulus bill was the stimulus bill of Joe Manchin. It was all about Joe. Like, what's Joe going to do? Because he's the moderate in the middle that was sort of, and to some extent, cinema. So it's funny how now moderates become much more important because they're the ones that could go either way because they're actually evaluating what is better for their constituents. It's very rare, that there's actually that happens. One other thing to Shannon's point that you were saying about how like, what do you do? Actually, everybody's point about like this sort of the Republican propaganda. It sparked a memory in my mind that the Republicans are just going to say whatever they want in this misinformation, disinformation campaign. It's amazing how brazen it is. And it reminds me of Soviet Russia, Stalin, the propaganda. They would put out these flyers that they knew everyone knew was a lie. And it was a power move. It was like, we're going to post this in your face and you're going to read it every day. And you're going to know we're lying to you. And what are you going to do about it? And if you disagree, we're going to kill you. And that was how it functioned, and it's exactly what Donald Trump did for the last 4 years. He said, I'm going to lie to your face, and you can't do shit about it. And it mentally messes up the country, and that's what's been happening. People are like, I can lie, and fuck you. Excuse my French. But that's what's been happening.
I will not excuse your French. I will not excuse your French.
So it's just...
my language.
It's a tactic. It's a tactic. You just brazenly lie, and then if you can't stop me, now that's the new way of doing business.
I know this is super idealistic, but that cute little laugh I have. Anyway, so proportional representation. Like currently in the Senate, Democrats represent 47 million more Americans than the Republicans, and yet they have the same amount of fucking seats. How is that rational? How is that logical?
No.
Proportional representation.
knows.
Like you were talking to your man about democracy won't die. What democracy? We just heard a few seconds ago that Republicans are changing the rules in every state to make sure that fewer people vote so that they can stay in power. That's not democracy. That's autocracy. So proportional representation. And then I want to add a layer on top of that, ranked choice voting, so that you can rank your candidates from 1 to 10 or whatever, and overall the most preferred candidates get elected. The quality goes right up, and it's not about money or super PACs anymore. I know that's idealistic, and the USA is 100 years away from that kind of thing, but geez, wouldn't it be great if you started sowing the seeds now so that it happens in 100 years rather than wait 100 years and then it happened 100 years after that. But then again, will America even exist in 100 years? I'm not so sure.
Probably not.
I don't think so.
I'm still excited about Dr. Seuss. So, I mean, if we're just figuring out how to read Dr. Seuss, I don't know if they can grasp the concept of, like, you know, let's pick number 1, number 2, and I don't even know if they can count to 10. So you have a lot. I live in Texas, and I think a lot of voters down here are disenfranchised because a lot of us minorities are not represented, and there's a lot of minorities here in Texas just because of the way that they cut, even Houston, the way they cut, and you can see the lines. It's the system is set up against you, so we would really need to mobilize on the ground to get this, to even get the first step taken care of. So I think we're dealing with a lot of people who feel like they're not served by their government, and I can understand that.
Speaking of not being served by your government, I want to kind of pivot over to talking about, you know, the giant 1.9 trillion COVID relief bill that passed this week, and without any Republican support. And yet they are still elected into office. This is something that was this bill was supported by, it was a bipartisan, supported bill. And yet these people couldn't even come to the table to even vote for something that they even got what they wanted. I mean, are we ever going to be able to connect with these people, or is it a lost cause?
I think after this, it's a lost cause. If they couldn't get a very popular bit of legislation passed with Republican support, I think everything after this is going to be a bitch. It's going to be an uphill battle. I'm really discouraged by this, actually.
Let's be serious. The only party in America that talks about bipartisanship ever are the Democrats. The party that gets held over their head when there is no bipartisanship is always the Democrats.
Yeah,
exactly.
The Republicans will hold this. The fact that there was no Republican support is going to motivate the Republican base to continue to vote for Republicans, because Joe Biden and the Democratic Party ran on a bipartisanship. We're going to come together. We're going to make this as a big happy family. And then when the Republicans said no, now they're going to hold that over. Even though it was their choice, it doesn't matter. They're going to hold that over the Democrats' heads in the upcoming elections, saying, see, they don't give a shit about bipartisanship. They didn't even want us voting on it.
Do you think that do you think the Democrats were too soft here? Do you
They're
think
always
that
too
they
soft.
were soft?
Always.
I mean, we got no minimum wage. They didn't want it in there, took it out. They wanted to lower the cap on who got funding. They got that out. I mean, they caved at pretty much every single step. Is this where we're at here?
Yes.
We've been.
It's where the Democratic Party has been at for decades.
Yeah, we've always been there.
But they caved at every single step, and they still didn't vote for it. So they gave Republicans lots of what they wanted, and they still didn't vote for it. And their message now is, well, only 9% of the bill is going towards COVID. And Maggie, I know you have a graphic there, but 9% is going towards.
Keep talking,
baby. 9% of it's going towards vaccines, but look at the rest of it. 424 billion on the checks, 350 billion to state and local services. Like, the vast majority of this is helping American families, but they're going to focus on that 176 billion over on the right hand side and say that that's all the COVID is. Everything else is a blue state bailout. Fuck right off.
How about How about Cruz lying about what was in there in Durban, getting up and handing him his
that was nice.
And he continued to do it. And he continued to go on Twitter and just say the same bullshit.
That's crazy. It's freaking crazy.
That's the problem. That's exactly what Patty was talking about, too, is that, like, you keep compromising and then they're not going to vote for it anyway. It's the same thing that happened with this election, is that we said if we pick somebody far too progressive, somebody who wants too much of the things that we need or want, then we may not beat Donald Trump. So we choose somebody who's more moderate, like Biden, as a safe bet. And they call them socialists anyway. They're still they're saying we live in socialism right now. They're claiming this is communism, socialism. So why? Why do we do that?
And the outcome would have been the same because they would have voted the exact same way, whether it was more progressive or not.
You know what?
Sorry, really quick. They also ended up calling Biden's platform the Bernie Biden platform anyway.
Yeah.
So, like, what's the point? What was the point of compromising? And now when we get this COVID relief bill, it went the way I expected it to go because we put in a moderate so that we would get this seat. So you should expect us to lose out on things again. I'm not saying that like I'm overjoyed by it, but that's what you get. I mean, not like that's what you get, like as a that's what you get market to follow. No, I'm saying like that's what we got.
Mm-hmm.
And you got Republicans taking credit for something that they voted against, which royally pissed me off. I was like, really? Are you serious? You guys are absolutely like they don't even care. Their voting record is right there. You can go look on the Congress website and you can see how they voted. And they're like, well, because we passed this. No, you did nothing like you have been doing, and now you don't get the credit for it. But for some reason, their party followers think that they did work magic. I don't know how this spell that they have.
Without having to look at it, you guys saw the tweet of I think it was somebody from like Wisconsin, and he was trying to take credit for passing this bill, like he was part of this, and it was like some bullshit. I mean, he was like, and now people will get all the things that they need, all the help,
yeah, Mississippi.
Blah, blah, blah. And yeah, okay, that's right. And it was like, are you fucking kidding me? You didn't vote for this.
Isn't it common knowledge? Like, hasn't it been everywhere that not one Republican voted for this? Like, it's not some secret bit of information that's hard to find.
Not on Fox. They're talking about Dr. Seuss. They're distracting. That's what they use Fox News as a tool to literally be like, squirrel, look over there real quick. And then, when everybody's like,
if you're even watching just the local news, I would imagine that the local news person is like, oh, the COVID relief bill was passed today and, no Republicans voted for it. Like, it's not common knowledge. Like, everybody doesn't know that. I guess not. If they're going to their states and saying, look what I did. And people are like, yeah, they don't know. It's weird.
These news channels are not talking about this. They're talking about other stuff. And they're keeping people, like Sadia said, completely distracted from the actual news. I mean, this was a highly popular bill with everybody.
Yeah,
76%. Yes, 76% of Americans were in favor of this bill. 76%. But what you're saying there about the local news channels, Fox News have syndicates in every single state. They're sent a script. Everybody's reading from the same script.
Yeah.
And because of political amnesia, which is a massive thing in the USA, all let's say in Texas, all Senator Cruz has to do is turn around and say, I believe in God and oil. Elect me and
my
you'll get elected.
guns.
Oh, he also
Nobody
served
cares
barbecue.
about the policy.
But even like your Good Morning America and like those morning shows that go on for 3-4 hours, like it was never mentioned. Republicans don't like tune in for a minute to these like morning talk shows. I just can't imagine that they didn't see that tidbit.
They're watching Fox and
I have a clip real quick. I'll show you. Here's just another, Patty gave me this one of Lauren Boebert. Here's just another thing that
Call her
was
by her real name. Her name is Boo Boo Boebert.
Boo Boo Boebert. Okay.
Fucking.
I don't know about you, America, but I am tired of these DC Democrats thinking they are better than you. In the past 3 weeks, they have effectively ended girls' sports in America, disenfranchising our daughters and replacing mom and dad with bureaucrats. They passed a DC takeover of our elections, nullifying states' rights and silencing the voice of millions of voters in America. Without any Republican support, they put our children $1.9 trillion further in debt. Biden's blue state bailout is a Democrat wish list that takes better care of their lobbyist friends than the people suffering from draconian lockdowns. Let's not forget Biden's border crisis. He created this by halting construction at the border wall and inviting illegal aliens to come into our country and implementing catch and release. These are not pie-in-the-sky policies. They have real consequences that hurt families.
I hate her. Oh my God.
Oh
my God, I hate her so much.
I think it's the indignation, the fact that they get so upset about things they don't care about. That's what bothers me the most. Like they go like, oh, they want to hurt families, like how we do. but they're doing it. Like it's so frustrating.
Right.
You like these things. You like when they torture us. So yeah.
The thing that stuck out to me with that was they're attacking states' rights after you literally just led a charge attacking a state's right to hold an election the way that they fucking want to.
And also, I mean, the thing that stuck out for me is her Tyrannosaurus Rex arms, but that's a different. It's bizarre. Her proportions are all over the place, but they're all of a sudden they're terrified of the deficit. You know, a 1.9 trillion in debt, and yet they spend sorry about that. They spent 1.5 trillion on a fucking jet. They added 3 trillion for a bailout of Wall Street. And here's the thing about Boo Boo Bobert State. Only 1/3 of their budget for the year comes from state taxes. The rest comes from the rest of America in terms of federal funding. So by her rationale, can we have that 2/3 back, please? No, because your state needs it now, and that's what's more important. You absolute cunt, Boo Boo. You fucking cunt.
Can I just say, that's absolutely right. A lot of these states' rights Republicans, their states are so dependent on the Fed, it's pathetic. But one other point that I'll make about that, first, in that video, it sounds like something's burning in the background, and it's definitely the Constitution. So I don't know what was burning. Or somebody was peeing on something. I don't know. But the other thing, too, So, but the one other thing that I want to say about that is that in general, the Republicans that are always pushing for these things to change right away, and they want all this money to stop from the Fed, but then they take all the money from the Fed. It's just a very clear symptom of just, I think, what's going on at a macro level in the country with the Republicans, that it doesn't really matter what they say. They don't. Their constituents don't, I don't think, follow the math. They actually don't know the budgets. So I feel like it's become really apparent that their base is so severely uneducated on the current events that it's easy for Fox News to just say this is now green when it's actually red, and they just believe it because they don't actually have the context. So I think there's like a severe diseducation problem, but I don't know how you solve that right away. But I think it's very easy for them to manipulate their base when they're single issue voters and they're very uneducated on the facts. And one other thing I'll say, I will defend the moderates here as the moderate in the room. Biden got through this stimulus, got in this stimulus fast, and it was effective in a very quick, short order compared to what Obama, another moderate, I would say, did the first time around. And one quote was from Obama. In the first round, they cut out so much, and it took so much longer for them to actually have the first bank bailout work, and actually recover our economy. And that's because they negotiated with Republicans. They wanted to be the Democrats that were bipartisan, and it destroyed everything for much longer. And they actually went, Chuck Grassley was there, and he came back to Obama like the 50th time. And then eventually Obama goes to him, is there any way you'll vote for this, no matter what I do? And he's like, no.
Oh, my God.
That's it right there. And that's a quote from Obama. So Biden, they got this through, and honestly, they tried early to negotiate in a bipartisan way, and when it was clear they weren't going to, they pushed forward with what they knew they could get, and they did it quick, so I give them some credit on that.
Oh my God. Is that guy ever going to die?
Grassley sucks, man.
And Feinstein, oh my God. One of the congressional hearings or something, it was the thing with Facebook, and they're next to each other, and she's like, What did he say? What's he saying? And he's like, I don't understand the lingo. This is crazy. And they had like these young people whispering in their ears. I'm like, what the fucking retire? Go spend time with the grandkids. What is happening right now? Die.
She's too busy insider trading. Dianne Feinstein's too busy insider trading.
Old. Go. It's time. Right? Am I right?
They're absolutely right.
I don't want to be aged.
A lot of those people have been there way too long, and we need more fresh blood.
Dude, no shit. It's bad. It's really bad.
And the problem with fresh blood is before you start wrapping up, that's terrible. Wrapping up. So the problem.
Ring the bell.
Patty,
ring the bell.
Patty.
Ring the bell.
What can I do you for, Patty?
Hang on. No, the problem about new blood is the Democrats are not getting enough new blood in quick enough, and the Republicans, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Boo Boo Bobert, are raising incredible amounts of money by literally lying more than Donald Trump did, and they're incredibly popular now with the right wing of the USA. They're absolutely stacking their coffers, and it's really quite scary. Like Boo Boo Bobert said that somebody was murdered outside of a restaurant, and a quick fact check showed that a dude down the street OD'd on drugs, and that's what happened. There was no murder, there was no record of it at all. But she said that on the House floor, and there's nobody saying, "Hey, that's a lie. Why are you lying?" And she will make incredible amounts of money off it. And all of those people, in the same way as the Tea Party took over the Republicans about 8-9 years ago, these people are going to infest Congress. And that's why the 2022 election is so vital. If the Republicans win this next election in 2022 in the midterms, the USA is finished.
Oh, it's over.
If the Democrats win, they're stalled ball until 2024 only. But if the Republicans win, God help us.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, man. I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry.
No, it's true though.
Look,
I'm really big on.
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Shane.
Sorry. Go ahead. You go.
No.
I'm sorry.
If I go, I'm close. Go.
I'm big on supporting the organizations that are good at finding candidates, getting candidates, supporting, and all that stuff. Because I don't know how else to do it. I don't know how. Like supermajority.org is all about finding women to run for office and supporting them and raising money for their campaigns and all that kind of stuff. And moveon.org. I've done work with both of them, and I don't like if anybody knows anything else to do, let me know.
Runforsomething.org
I
is a good one.
I was just talking with Abe from
runforsomething.org. They do a lot of work helping people get off the ground if they want to run, specifically Democrats and progressive individuals that want to run for office, whether it's from the local to the state to the federal level.
That's awesome.
I just think it's good to support those and work with the organizations who really know what they're doing. Like I've been in training on how to mobilize and team build and all that stuff. I wouldn't know what to do without a group of people who know what the hell they're doing. This is what they do. So
I would vote for Shannon.
You'd vote for me?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Hey, staying positive. People positive.
So what
Canvassing
I'll do,
really helps. None of you've done that, by the way. Sorry. Done.
So what I'll do is I'll start putting up some links for people at the end of the show as well, so they can follow, links where they can be a part of the change. I know Abe from Won't Be Silent, I mentioned earlier, he's got a huge thing going on right now, so I'll make sure that you guys get connected with that as well.
I've done the interview for that already. Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, me too.
I
actually had to do
Don't Be
it twice.
Silent is on YouTube. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because he forgot to press record for you, didn't you, Maggie?
We did it. No, and he didn't record it. He's probably watching and hating.
He did one. Is he watching? He did one with me, and he lowered my voice like 10 octaves. I was like, "What's up, guys?" I'm like, "Come on, man."
I sounded pretty manly too. It's okay. I watched like the first second. I was like, nope. I just kind of closed out of it. It's like if my voice sounds like that, I'm sticking a point in it at boxes.
I think
Is Sadia, are you okay in Texas, by the way? Like, how are you? Is Texas like on fire? Like, are you okay?
It's on fire. I ran to volunteer on Monday because the mask mandate left, and so I ran to volunteer. And if you volunteer, they give you the shot. So I got my shot on Wednesday, the day that they lifted the mask mandate. And for the most part, like in Houston, everybody is wearing their masks, but I'm getting pictures from like surrounding areas of like the smaller towns, and like everybody's like literally having like mini bonfires like at bars of masks, and I'm like, God damn it, we're all dead. So I don't care at this point. I'm just gonna get my shot. My whole family's vaccinated. I'm like, okay, that's it. I just want to take care of my family and my loved ones, and we'll be okay.
Absolutely. Well, it's really unfortunate that Abbott came out and got rid of the mask mandate and put everything back to 100% capacity. I mean, how irresponsible could somebody be?
Yeah.
All restaurants packed front to back.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
He's going to say the vaccines didn't work. That's what he wants to do.
He's blaming immigrants already.
Of course.
Yes. Busloads of immigrants.
Right.
And also what's going to happen is more people congregate, the more variants are going to get out there, which makes the vaccines less effective. I mean, it literally is just perpetuating this thing longer and longer.
Yep.
We want all the variants. it's like collecting Pokemon down here. Gotta catch them all. So every variant we can get, we just want it here. So pray for Texas.
That's not how Pokemon works. By the way.
I'm sorry.
Variants. There is evolution, but it's different.
Oh, sorry. I just figured it was kind of the same.
Also, keep in mind that Florida is also not keeping their numbers true. So the Florida numbers are completely fabricated and fake.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and I think Mississippi also got rid of their mask mandate as well. I mean, Texas is not the only one. There's a whole slew of irresponsible states out there, and yet you can still fly wherever you want to. So it's like, it doesn't matter. If one state does it, it happens to us all. So, I mean, that's the thing. We are the divided states of America at this point.
Meanwhile, in Ireland, because of Donald Trump making sure that the supply of the vaccine to the rest of the world was stalled, we're still in level 5 lockdown for another 2 months minimum, because 92% of all cases here are the UK strain, which means that we can't come out of lockdown because it spreads too fast. And because there's no fucking vaccines to be had, we will still be dealing with this at Christmas, whilst the rest of you are doing whatever the hell you do at Christmas in America. I don't know, buy shit, I guess. I'm not bitter at all.
Did the AstraZeneca stop? I know you guys had AstraZeneca. Did that stop?
AstraZeneca have told Europe, the continent of Europe, that they can only meet 41% of the orders for this quarter, and they only told us like 2 days ago. 41%. So that's 59%. No, you get that in a couple of months' time.
Wow.
So the Johnson & Johnson one is going to have to be, pretty awesome for us to get out of this lockdown scenario, because I'm super pissed off. Yeah.
Well,
really
right now they're already talking about, even with Pfizer and Moderna, that there's going to have to be boosters, and they're already working on them right now. So, I mean, I know that we have this, everyone is qualified by May 1st and get your vaccine when you can, but it still means you have to do what you got to do. I mean, but America is just one big shit show right now. So my fear is that we're going to blow this. We're going to blow the vaccines. We're going to blow this whole fucking opportunity. And that's my fear.
I think you're right. I think you're right. It's very likely that we'll just end up in a fourth wave, and the vaccines won't be any good because people they got overexcited and just decided to lift restrictions too early.
Yeah.
And it'll be our fault. It'll probably be America's fault.
It is our fault. Everything that's happening in the world right now is our fault.
Thanks, Obama.
Yep. Fucking Obama.
Fucking tan suit. You and your fucking tan suit.
Okay. I cannot leave on this low note, so we can talk. Let's talk about something positive.
Wait, I've got one. Have you seen the Old Man Murphy video where he's got the super sex? The super straight people.
Super straight, yes.
He's in front of the logo, and then he zooms out. Have you seen that one?
Yes, I did see that.
He zooms out, and he's like, zooms out. And he finally zooms all the way out, and it's a grinder symbol.
Yes.
Well, you know what? Talking about super straight is actually a great way to end the show. I think everyone here might have made a video in some capacity about super straight.
I couldn't.
Mine was taken down. I got banned. I got a community violation for it.
Oh, mine did too, but I appealed it, and it was up in 5 minutes. Mine got taken down for nudity.
What?
Remember when I was like, let me take my shirt off and do a video about super straights? That never happened.
My bit. Please don't do that. That's my bit. I've got claim on that.
It's because your voice is so sultry. It's
yes, baby. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so taken down for nudity, and I was like, and I'm such a bitch to the appeals people. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? I wasn't fucking naked. Put my video back up, bitch.
I'm so bad with the appeals people. They pulled my Tucker Carlson video for dangerous organizations or something. And so I literally just, in my appeal, I just said, fuck you, TikTok, and submit.
Matt, we're so much alike.
In in Europe now, they're not even letting you. You can only click appeal. You can't give a reason why you're appealing. So now, it's taking a minimum. Takes a minimum of 12 hours for them to put it back up if they take a look at it. So yeah, whereas before I used to just say this is not breaking guidelines because it's a public figure, it always get put it back up almost immediately. But now you can't even give a reason anymore, so you can't even call them cunts.
So, you know what I mean? Spoiler alert! I lost my appeal, so
I've only gotten it when we're able to appeal once. Everything else is like you can't appeal it. You just lost that video.
Really?
I've only been able to appeal once.
They hate you. TikTok
They
hates
do
you.
hate
I don't know why.
TikTok does hate me. You can let everyone know TikTok does hate me. Thank you.
I'm currently
I
6
figured
days
mine got taken
into.
down.
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't even know who was talking. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Was it Danish?
Danish.
Yeah, it was me. But you go ahead. Okay,
I was just saying, I think they took mine down because I said it's only a matter of time until we find you with your dick in a glory hole in a bus stop. And I'm like, that doesn't count as nudity. That doesn't count as nudity.
Nice.
I'm not
Nice.
sitting here naked. It's just, I hate
Those were the days.
Amazing. Repost.
Pre-COVID.
I'm
times.
convinced that everybody with a big account is like on like a list. I'm very convinced of this. And if you post it around the same times every day, I think there's like a mass of people that are reporting people. I'm telling you this just because I've been testing it. So is it like you guys posted at the same time?
Yeah, I totally feel like my account is circling the drain at the moment. I'm probably on my way out. If we're being honest. TikTok I feel like I'm one or two more of these videos away from TikTok being like, "Man, you're done."
Just Maggie, you want something funny to end the show, right? So there's in the national newspaper in Ireland today. there's a headline, right? So it says, are you ready for this?
You can't even get through it.
The laugh. The laugh.
Unforeseen losses force Irish psychics live into liquidation.
Oh, really?
Wow.
That's perfect.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
I can't believe they didn't see it coming. Like, but it's just, like, that was in the paper today. My God, like, just sorry about that.
I love you guys.
Guys. Before, and also I always say this, just whoever did shoot John F. Kennedy in 1963, can you please come out of retirement? Wink, wink. That's all I have to say.
Right? I mean, you gotta wonder how they're still walking around. I mean, I'm just saying.
I don't give a fuck. Yeah.
Hey, my Patty the Panda shirt is really sharp, by the way.
Oh man, it's cool, isn't it?
I was saying Patty's wearing it all now.
I got mine. It's over here somewhere.
I was saying,
sorry,
I said I should text you and you should wear it. You guys are repping.
I'm sorry, what? Plug merch? What?
It's a nice shirt.
Speaking of
Thanks
plugging merch and plugging things, I want everyone to go around and just kind of, Patty, not with the bell.
That's what she.
I want you guys to go around and just give yourself a little outro and talk about your page, your merch, whatever you want to, and plug it here. Let's start with Shannon.
Oh, okay. I have merch because it's just a fun hobby. I have a lot of potty mouth stuff, a lot of things with the F word. I got a science line. I'm big into science, believing in the science. So, yeah, I got that. And what else am I talking about? Oh, what I do on TikTok? Just whatever. I just bitch and cuss people out and talk about whatever's going on. That's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming, Shannon.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me, Maggie, and it was wonderful talking to everybody. I don't have merch, but I do have a link in my bio to support the Black Marketing Initiative. I'm teaching a course for underserved communities here in Houston, and the winning pitch at the end of the week next week gets the prize money. So if you'd like to donate to that. And I don't have merch, but I got Danish's merch. That face freaks my mom out.
Christian Walker, baby.
Yeah, my mom doesn't. She doesn't know who Christian Walker is, but every time she sees this shirt, she's like, "Why do you wear that? I don't like that face." And I'm like, "We don't either." So now you have to look at it too. So thank you for having me.
Awesome. All right, next, Danesh.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Maggie. Yeah, I'm Donish. You could follow me on TikTok, same name here, the Donish guy. I try to be funny. I make fun of people a lot, and so I get banned as a result. I'm currently banned on both my accounts, so you have to wait. Yeah, actually, I'm 6 days into my 7-day ban, but I'm 6 days in waiting for my appeal. So hopefully, maybe after my ban, they'll say, "Hey, you didn't deserve that ban." Who knows? But I usually post daily if I'm not being reprimanded. That is my merch that you saw Sadia wearing. It's Christian Walker merchandise, which I make nothing off of. Profits go to Black Lives Matter. And then I also sell my art on my merch page, which is on my page. You should follow me and like and share all my stuff to see it. It's really, but you have to like everything.
Right on.
Awesome. All right, next, food expert.
So my name is Bert. I come from the channel Food Expert, and my battery's about to die on my phone. So hopefully I'm able to finish this this outro. But anyways, make sure you guys check out my channel. I talk about history, culture, food, and I go on adventures around the world. Currently, I'm in Albania, Tirana, the capital of Albania, and next stop is Macedonia again. And then I'm going to go to Thailand, I think, maybe in a month or so. So I'm just not sure yet where I'm going to go next. But that's all part of the adventure. Anyways.
Cool. Awesome. Right on.
All right, next we've got Matt, USMC Angry Veteran. A funny story, when he came on the show the first time, I called him US McAngry Veteran. And he did not correct me the entire time. Now I know. US
McAngry.
I don't have merch, so it makes it very easy to rebrand myself as US McAngry Veteran. So
I like it.
Good. That's what I thought it was too.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah. So thank you for Maggie having me on here once again. It was a blast talking with everybody. I am US McAngry Veteran. Yeah, follow me on TikTok while you can. So yeah, that's it. I got nothing. I yell at people. I'm a lot like Shannon. We're the same person.
I love it. And you guys have been so much fun. All right, our surprise guest of the night, Patty the Panda.
You fucking invited me. Jesus.
You just showed up.
You know, you weren't in the video, so you're a surprise guest.
Maggie, knock, knock. Knock, knock, Maggie.
Who's there?
Go fuck yourself. Jesus.
Oh, no.
Anyway, so, okay. So that's a joke. Come on. Okay, that's not the worst thing I've said today. I mean, I threatened to assassinate the former president. Come on, it's not the worst thing I've said today. So, my name is Paddy the Panda. Yes, I do have merch. It's in my link in my bio. All proceeds also go to the Irish Kidney Association. But also, currently, for the month of March, I'm doing 10,000 steps every single day for the Irish Kidney Association. I, like many of you know, had the coronavirus in January. And as a result of that, I've had significant complications with my kidney, and that kidney is now in failure. So I'm trying to give something to the Irish Kidney Association this month so that maybe down the line I might need their help. The link for that is in my bio. We're 80% of the way to our target. If you can help out, that'd be great. If not, that's fine. A bit of motivation goes a long way. Thank you so much for having me on. I love everyone here. These are all fucking amazing. And thank you for being my friends.
We love you, Patty, even though you tell me to fuck off.
I told you, Shannon, we're the same fucking person.
I'll be singing that all night. Thanks, Patty.
All right, and last but not least, we got the American Moderate.
Yep. So that's on all my handles are the American Moderate for the most part. And thank you, Maggie, for having me on. I always love coming on this show. I similarly love all of the people that are on here right now, and I admire everything that you all do. I don't have merch, and someday maybe. And yeah, I just appreciate being on here, and I hope that we can have a social democratic path for the United States, and that's what I'm going to keep working towards. So thanks for having me on.
Of course. All right, guys. I am Maggie Reed. No, that's American Moderate.
I looked really, really good there for a second, and then.
All right, guys. I'm Maggie Reed, also known as Mermaid Mama Maggie on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch. You can catch me here every Friday on Friday Night Highlights. Next week, we're going to be having a special international Friday Night Highlights. We are going to be talking to people not from America next week. So it should be very interesting. So tune in next week. And for the first time, we have a very new outro. So thank you guys for being here. I love all of you and I love supporting you on TikTok. And if you don't follow these people, please go and follow them because they are amazing. And have a great week. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Maggie. See you guys.